Have you ever gone on a trip with a bunch of ideas for your photography, only to get home, upload those images, and feel like they're just okay? Well, I definitely have, and it's probably one of the worst feelings that you can have as a photographer. But over the last 10 years of travel photography, I've learned a few key tips that have helped me come home with my trips with a bunch of great images that I'm genuinely excited about. And those are the tips that we're going to be covering today in this video. And there is no better place to film a video like this than here in the beautiful city of Paris. The sun is out, the vibes are immaculate, and I am so excited to photograph this place. So let's get after it. I can tell you guys one thing, Paris is an absolute vibe in the summer. We are really loving our time here so far. It's been incredibly hot. We've been having a heat wave, but because of that, everyone is kind of outside, hanging out by the sun, hanging out with their friends and escaping the heat of their apartments. And it just presents so many great opportunities for photography. But I've been shooting a ton since I got here to Paris, and one of the things that I've been thinking about is the purpose of the photos that we shoot on trips like this. And my first tip for this video is your photos might lack purpose. What do I mean by that? Well, if you go on a trip and you don't really have a plan or a purpose for the photos that you're going to take on that trip, you're probably just going to end up with a bunch of random images that are just going to end up sitting on your hard drive for years and years and years, and you'll never end up doing anything with them. But if you do have a purpose and a plan for what you're going to do with those photos after your trip, I think that's going to give you a ton more clarity and direction for the photos that you're going to take on that trip. So for example, when I first started out with photography, my main purpose for the photos that I was taking on my trip was to post those photos on Instagram. I really enjoyed Instagram at the time. I got a lot of value out of it. But now, 10 years later, I just really do not enjoy posting my photos on Instagram. And for a while, there was a period where I didn't really know what to do with my photos. Yes, I would go out and take all these great images, I would edit them, but then they would just kind of sit there and I wouldn't do anything with them. But one of the things I started doing a few years ago was putting together physical photo books that are not for sale. They're just for me and my family or me and my partner to document our travels with and document our life with. And this gave so much more purpose to my photography because all of a sudden I had an actual plan on what I was going to do with these photos. And not only that, but it also brought a ton more variety to my photography as well. Because back in the day when I was shooting for Instagram, I would really only chase the banger photos. But now, because I'm putting together these photo books, I'm shooting a lot more variety in my photos as well. I'm taking photos of the food that me and my girlfriend are eating. I'm taking photos of my girlfriend. All these things are going to be included in this book. And those aren't things that I would typically photograph back in the day. So I think it's really important to reflect on the purpose of the photos that you're taking on your trip. What do you plan to do with those images? If it's just to post them on Instagram, honestly, that's totally fine. I used to really enjoy doing that. But if you don't enjoy doing that, I think it's really important to sit down and actually think about what you plan to do with those images, because that's going to give you a lot more clarity and direction for when you're actually shooting on your trip. I'm super stoked to make a zine from this 1 month trip here in Paris. And if you guys do want to see how I create that, let me know in the comments down below and I'll definitely make a video about that. So I have come to Canal Saint-Martin here in Paris, and it is absolutely popping right now. Paris is having a horrific heat wave, so everyone is out, hanging out, swimming in the canal, jumping off the bridges. The vibes here are absolutely insane. And this is the perfect place to discuss the next tip in this video, and that is when you stumble across a scene like this with this much energy, do your best to capture the full range of that scene. So for example, I think a lot of photographers would find a scene like this and they would shoot the obvious shot, which in this particular scene is probably the bridge in the background where you can see the water and you can see the people jumping off. It's a nice wide establishing shot that shows the scene and it's a cool photo. But that is just one angle from this scene. And one of the things that I like to do in a place like this is to really work the scene and try and capture a wide range of images that all work together to tell a much more interesting story about that particular place. And you can do that, but make sure you're capturing at least 3 different types of photos. The first one is the wide shot, and this is the shot that kind of shows the scene, gives you context, and an example of this is the photo that we just took. Then I like to move a little bit closer and look for medium shots or smaller scenes within that larger scene. And in this particular place, that might mean going up and photographing some of the people that are jumping into the water. And last but certainly not least, I'll move in even closer and look for some of the smaller details. Someone's hand, reflections, textures, or other little things that might not explain the place that you're shooting in, but help you feel the vibe and the energy of it. And when you bring all these images together in one album, it allows you to tell a much more interesting and powerful story about the place that you're photographing. So next time you're out shooting in an interesting place, don't just shoot the obvious photo. Try and capture a wide range of images from that scene. Shoot wide photos, medium photos, and tight photos, because that's going to allow you to capture much more range in that particular place. All right, guys, well, I have just got back from the canals. I've already uploaded the images and I've started doing a little bit of editing, and I am so stoked with how some of these images came out. It was such a vibe out there, and I love stumbling across stuff like that when I'm traveling. But as I was editing these images, it reminded me of a problem that I think a lot of photographers struggle with, especially when they first start out, and I struggled with this as well, and that is editing your photos in a way that doesn't match that location. And this is a big one because I think a lot of photographers will find an editing style that works for them in one location, and then they'll try and force that editing style on all of their photos, regardless of where those images were taken. But every place has its own feeling, its own vibe, and its own energy. Bali doesn't feel like New York doesn't feel like Morocco, and Morocco doesn't feel like Bali. All these locations are different. And if you try to force an editing style on a photo where it doesn't really match, you can actually be doing more harm to that photo than good. For example, on this Paris trip, I'm not trying to lean into this super cool and moody vibe in my images like I would if I was shooting in New York City in the winter, or even in Bali where a lot of my images are quite moody. Here in Paris, I'm really trying to lean into the summer vibes. I'm trying to lean into the warm light, the hard light, and the pops of vibrant color that I'm seeing throughout the city. I'm still using my presets, but I'm choosing the presets from my preset pack that actually fit this particular location. And the presets that I've been using the most are the Portrait 400 presets, as well as the Everyday Negative and the Classic Negative presets. They work really, really well in a summertime environment like Paris. But my point isn't that you need to completely reinvent your editing style every time you travel to a new place. You can bring over certain stylistic elements from previous edits, whether that's a similar level of saturation, or maybe you like to highlight certain colors, or maybe you have a similar tone curve as well. But you also need to make sure that you're editing those images in a way that actually suits that particular environment. And I think this applies to video as well. I shoot a ton of video while I'm traveling, and when I'm color grading that footage, I need to make sure that that color grade matches the vibe of that specific location. The same goes for the music that I use on those clips as well. It has to not only match the mood and the vibe of that scene, but also the pacing, the rhythm, and the cuts as well. And I spend way too much time trying to find the perfect music for my videos, but recently I started playing around with a new tool called Sonillo, and it has made this process so much easier for me. And Sonillo is actually the sponsor of today's video. Sonillo is a video to music AI tool that analyzes the pacing, mood, and structure of your footage, then generates music designed to fit your edit. So instead of spending hours searching through stock music libraries like I'm doing for almost every video, Sonillo generates original soundtrack options directly from your footage that is fully licensed and totally safe to use commercially. So for example, here's a short cinematic sequence that I shot today here in Paris on the canals. It's nice and simple, 10 seconds, but all I have to do in order to generate music for that clip with Sonillo is simply drag and drop it up here and upload that video. And then within a few seconds, it'll spit out 3 different options for me that I can choose from. So that only took about 10 seconds. So let's listen to the 3 different options that it gave us. The first one is Summer Canal Vibes. Okay, I like that one. Let's try Lazy Canal Afternoon. Okay, a little bit more chill, more lo-fi, relaxed. And last but certainly not least, Tropical Water Splash. Okay, that last one probably wouldn't fit my vibe, but I think the other 2 did a pretty good job. And it's amazing how this is only looking at your footage and creating music based on that. I didn't type in any prompts, I didn't choose anything. All I did was upload the footage, and it gave me these 3 different options to choose from. You can always go down and regenerate as well. And then you can easily just download that music and add it right into your project, into your video editing software. And also, you're still retaining the option to choose the music for your video. You're not completely relinquishing your more creative control over this, which is something that a lot of us creative people do not like to do. We still get to make the final creative decision for the music that we want to add to our video. And I really like that about Sonilo. And I think tools like this are only going to get better with time as well as AI models continue to improve and get smarter. This is definitely a very interesting tool, and I'm excited to play around with it more going forward. So if you guys want to give Sonilo a shot, click the first link in the description to try it out. Thank you so much, Sonilo, for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. But with that said, it is currently 6 p.m. The sun sets at 10 p.m. and I want to do a little bit more shooting. So I'm going to grab my stuff and I'll meet you guys outside. Now this next tip has to do with famous landmarks. And of course, when we're traveling, we often go and see these famous landmarks, like the Eiffel Tower, for example. And I think a lot of photographers will come to a place like this and think that that is what makes a great photo. But if you go to Google right now and you type in Eiffel Tower, you're gonna see a bunch of photos that look exactly like this. Photos like that aren't special because they're not interesting. They're a dime a dozen. And just because you have a famous landmark in front of you doesn't mean you're automatically going to get an interesting photo. The landmark isn't the most important thing in that photo. It's simply part of that photo. And you need to try and find a way to photograph that landmark in a way that's actually interesting and in a way that's going to separate it from everyone else's photos. For example, instead of just shooting a basic photo of the Eiffel Tower like we did earlier that looks like everyone else's, one of the things that I've been doing is kind of walking around and looking for interesting subjects that I can place in the foreground of my photo, and then I can position the Eiffel Tower in the background of the image. And that results in a much more interesting photo than just a basic photo of the Eiffel Tower. There really are a million different photos online of famous locations like the Eiffel Tower. So when you do go visit a famous landmark like this, just remember that that landmark is just part of the photo. It's not the most important thing. And you should really take your time to explore that scene and find a way to capture a truly interesting photo of that landmark. I'll tell you guys one thing, the light right now is really nice and soft, and that's because we have some nice clouds over the sun. But a lot of my time here on this trip has been trying to deal with the super hard light that I'm getting here in Paris. Like I told you guys before, it is June here in Paris, and that means the sun doesn't set until 10 p.m. And that also means that during the day, the light is just ridiculously hard and also really difficult to shoot in. And that leads me perfectly onto the next tip of this video, which is you need to learn to work with the light that you're given while you're traveling. Oftentimes when we're traveling, we have to work with a limited schedule. It's not like we're moving to this place and we have all the opportunities in the world to photograph it. We have a set schedule, whether it's a couple days or a week, to capture the photos that we want to capture. And unfortunately, the weather and the conditions are not always going to be on our side. And I know it seems like here in Paris, it's sunny, it's beautiful. That's perfect for photography. But as you guys very well know, super hard light can be very difficult to shoot in. And when I first got here, I realized that I wasn't taking all that many photos during the day because it was so bright. But that also meant that I ended up just missing so many cool photos of these places that I was visiting with my girlfriend. And I realized that if I do want to capture these photos, I just need to shoot them regardless of the conditions that they're in. And yes, that means that a lot of my photos here in Paris were shot in pretty hard light, not ideal lighting conditions, but it's always better to have a photo that might not be perfect than to not have a photo at all. And I think this relates to all different types of light as well, not just hard light. For example, if it's an overcast day, or if it's raining, or even if you could only go see a certain place at night, it's still better to take the photo than to not have the photo at all. So now I'm finding myself shooting a lot more in hard light and also thinking about how I can still capture cool photos in that light. And I think that's the mindset that you should go into on your trips. When you go on a trip and you're met with not the best conditions, don't get down on yourself and stop shooting. Look at that scene and think about how you can utilize the light that you're given to capture something interesting. I think this is one of those skills that all great photographers possess. They know how to make something work when the situations are not ideal. So that's one of the predicaments that I found myself in here in Paris. The light has been super harsh, and because the sun sets so late, if I do want to shoot in nice light, I have to go out and shoot at like 9 p.m. and then I'm not home until 10 or 11, and then I have to eat dinner. So I found that it's actually a lot more difficult to shoot in the summer in a city like Paris than it is when the winter, where you get much softer light all day long and the days are nice and compressed. So light can definitely be one of those tricky things, and it is incredibly important for your photos, but don't let it dictate whether or not you're going to take a photo. You have to learn to work with the light that you're given while you're traveling. So I did have a rough plan to go photograph another location here in Paris for sunset, but one of the things that I've been trying to do more with my photography in recent years is to slow down a little bit. And that's exactly what the last tip of this video is. It's to slow down both your photography and also your travels as a whole. I think it's really easy to try and pack in as much as you possibly can while you're traveling. You want to visit all these destinations that you've never seen before. You have a list of places that you want to go to. And I think that's great. And I think that's what so many of us do when we first start traveling. But the more that you travel, the more you'll start to realize that when you're traveling at a pace that fast, it's actually hard for you to really settle in and capture great photos. One of the best things that you can do for your photography is to slow down and allow yourself to really exist in that place without all the distractions of trying to organize transportation, constantly checking your phone and looking at Google Maps, and all these little things that pull your attention away from your immediate environment. When you slow down and you give yourself these opportunities to really explore and get lost and find new things, that's when you can stumble upon some really incredible scenes for your photography, and you'll have the space to give those scenes the attention that they deserve. I used to try and pack in so much with my travels. I have a list of cities I wanted to go to, and I have a bunch of different activities, but I realized that that was actually hurting my photography. And one of the best things that I've done for my photography is to really slow down my travels, try and see less, but really dedicate my time and my full attention to the places that I am visiting. And that's exactly why my partner and I decided to book a month here in Paris. There's so many beautiful cities around Europe that I want to shoot, but I know that I'm going to be coming back, and I wanted to give this city the time that it deserves for photography. But with that said, the light is starting to get really, really nice right now. It is about 8:30, so we are peak sunset hours, and I want to do a little bit more shooting. But I really hope you guys found this video useful. These are just some of the things that I've learned over the last 10 years of travel photography that have really helped my photography get to where it is today. And I know that there's so many other things that I could talk about. If there's anything that you guys think I missed, drop a comment down below and let's chat about it. If you guys want to learn more from me, I have a ton of videos here on the channel as well. I would highly recommend my video on lighting. I'd recommend my video on color grading, composition, and also if you guys are interested in travel photography, I have a whole playlist dedicated to travel photography. I'll link that down in the description for you guys to check out as well. But with that said, that is all for this video, guys. I'm gonna go off and do a little bit more shooting, and I will chat with you very soon in the next one.